Hey guys, I told you this day was going to come, and it's here today. We're here with Congressman Joe Courtney and his staff. Joe has worked hard with Mark Vesco from our board of directors to help us get a grant to fix the buildings and the roofs. Congressman, would you like to introduce your staff also?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the invitation to be here. Julia McGrath, who works on our grants in our Norwich district office for the whole Eastern Connecticut, which covers 63 towns, and Christian Peterson, who's driving with me today. He does the scheduling, and he's like our sort of utility infield player who can cover lots of portfolios. So again, end of July, the House of Representatives passed the fiscal year 2021 spending bills, which included part of the transportation, housing and urban development component, which projects like repairing buildings in places like the Rockville Motorcycle Museum, because it's a nonprofit institution, are now included in that package. Again, getting to that place is not for the faint of heart. You have to really demonstrate a public benefit and a need together to sort of get through the process. And working with you and your team, Mark in particular, the town of Vernon, who again really signed off on the importance in terms of economic development in this part of the distressed area of our town. And I live here in Vernon and worked here for many years, so I know the area. This is really the museum is really a beacon of growth and development and hope for this region, and that's why I think this request was successful.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate all the hard work you and your administration have done to make this possible. I know there were probably thousands of applicants. And Mark, the whole team, I really appreciate everything you guys have done for us. And we're going to do a tour. They have not seen the museum yet. Joe's been here a bunch of times at different events, and let's take a walk through. This building right here is the first building in the state of Connecticut to achieve a certified historic building restoration, and that wasn't used for housing, it was used for business. And we accomplished this in 2013. This building was built in 1906, and we're going to cross a bridge here. This was added in 1931, this bridge. It's the original bridge. We've totally restored it. And the museum building we're walking into was originally built in 1814, then expanded in 1854 after a fire, and then completed in 1880. I like to say it's 20 feet longer and 5 feet taller than Noah's Ark, because it is. I looked it up on the Bible. And it was an act of God to get this thing completed, both to have it certified for handicap access on 3 floors and all the challenges of retrofitting an old building. But if you look at it, it's the original structure. The floors are original. This floor is unique in that it has the lowest ceiling height. As you go down lower, the ceiling height's longer. It's exactly 305 feet long, just a little bit over a football field. And as you can see, it's full of motorcycles, thanks to Kaplan Cycles and a lot of the benefactors of the museum who have motorcycles on display here. There's a newspaper article at the bottom here, which is particularly significant because it talks about the mill going out of business in 1951 and how it was. This is the second building in the state of Connecticut to achieve certified historic restoration by the State Historic Parks Office. It's also listed on the state and federal park system as on the National Historic Registry. You can see there was an article in Connecticut Magazine. We're on the front cover, and there's of the magazine talking about revamping forgotten factories from forgotten to functional. And over here, there's a letter from Teddy Roosevelt, the 4th president, tied to the mill. In 1905, he had his inauguration suit made in this building right here, and he sent a letter. In 1897, William B. McKinley actually had his suit made here, and I forget the two before that when I'm under on the camera. But
I never heard those.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Awesome.
Maybe we can get another president to visit here. Maybe call Biden, see if he'll come take a look.
He likes fast cars.
Yeah, he'll love this. We got fast motorcycles in here. This floor here is the second floor of the building. There's 5 floors on the far side and 4 on this side. The one below here is the one we'd like to open a function room, restaurant, bar, microbrewery, wedding hall. And you'll see when you get down there, it's basically completed. The ceiling, walls, and floors are done, but we ran out of money, so we haven't got to the next step. So we're working on that every day. This is the original 1814 flooring, if you can imagine that. This was a factory. This was under 2 layers of plywood glued and screwed down. And to achieve certified historic restoration, we had to make exact duplicates of the original windows. There's only 3 companies in the country that make these. Why they're significant is they're wood on the inside and the outside. So, and the original brickwork, as you can see, was left original, and we restored the floor and the ceiling, but left a lot of the fabric of the building original. Joe, you're a resident of Vernon. You saw the building falling into decay for many moons. And like you had said, it is a beacon of hope, and it affected not just this block, but it kind of spiraled out in a 10-block radius. A lot of the houses are getting purchased and restored, like the one our neighbors did over there, the one on the other side, and of course the one the Historic Society had put up for auction, and we purchased and restored. Now Junior lives there, so.
So in terms of the museum's sort of following, because obviously there's a lot of local excitement about it, but
Sure.
In terms of, awareness within that sort of community of vintage motorcycle enthusiasts, I mean, this is now a nationally known and recognized facility, is that right?
Yes, sir, international. In fact, when we had our grand opening, people from Brazil, from Canada, California, Holland, yeah.
Hey, Dan, how are you?
Dan, how are you, sir?
Good, got the mayor here.
Guys, this is one of the guys who's made this possible also is the Senator Dan Champagne, also the mayor of Rockville and Vernon, and a long-time Vernon resident. Sir, would you like to add anything about the progress here and the fact that we're getting the grant to complete the windows and roofs?
Well, I want to thank Joe for getting that grant. And you know what? This is amazing. Anybody that hasn't been here, please come down. You're gonna, especially if you like bikes. They're every kind here. I could fall off every one of them, but I won't. So if you haven't been here, please come down.
These are all owned by the president of the Antique Motorcycle Club of America, the Yankee chapter, Ted Smith, these 4 BMWs. As a matter of fact, he was on the phone with, lucky for us, he was on the phone with Sean Gately this morning, Economic Development Coordinator for the town, and he wants to move his national event from Terryville to here, in partial because the museum's here, but they're talking about using the Talon Agricultural Center or
Nice.
maybe
Yeah.
Golfland.
See,
So-
that's where, you mentioned earlier that you were one of the first mills that got the designation that was not housing.
Yes.
Again, there's been some good projects in the
Phenomenal,
region
beautiful projects.
that are very focused on residential housing. And, but what again, was one of the things I told the folks in the Appropriations Committee was that what's unique about what the museum represents is, trying to use more diverse sort of economic activity with the mill site, which is, again, really tough stuff with, remediation and all that stuff. And I think, again, that really is why this request stood out, was that you were doing something very unique in terms of taking an old mill building and not using it for, either housing or, sort of commercial office space or whatever.
Sure.
This is something that is a completely, different kind of transformation. And there's a lot of brownfields in this country
Amen.
that
There is.
have to get redeveloped. And so what you're doing here, I think, again, is aside from just how unique it is as far as the displays and the following that you have, but it also shows a different vision of how mill sites can get renovated and used and reused in a way that, retains history, but also is connected to future growth.
It's very true. I had heard there, I don't know if it's correct, but when we started the project, I was told there were over 400 brownfields in the state of Connecticut alone, vacant factories that
Easily.
needed to be
There's probably that many
repurposed.
in eastern Connecticut.
Yeah.
So, and again, when they don't get developed, thank God, they never had a fire here, because, Somers, Connecticut, they had the Somerville mill burned to the ground, Plainfield. I mean, you can go, to many of these communities where, again, just abandoned, neglected, people just are on the property who don't belong there, and somebody knocks
Sure.
over a, heating device, and next thing you know, you've got just a major, public safety threat, as well as a public health and environmental threat.
Absolutely. When we had come here, the day I got the deed to the property and the right of ownership, there were over 20 families living in and outside of the buildings. It was literally a tent city up on the hill. Thanks to Mayor Dan, there was a community police officer who was always a phone call away, and we managed to clean the place up. And there were contractors coming here. They thought it was a dump. They would drive around the back and dump trucks out like while we were there. I was like, "What are you doing?" we pull.
But that's the story of
Yeah.
brownfields.
Yeah.
And if you, you're gonna, it's a disaster waiting to happen.
We pulled over 100 yards of dumpsters out of here in the first 3-4 weeks that we were here. And part of the agreement with the town, with Dan and the town administration, that we'd take care of the 2 buildings that had collapsed. There was a major industrial building the size of that red one that had collapsed and was a serious hazard, half collapsed. And then there was another one that we'll see the ruins of that had completely collapsed. We had to rent a $10 million crane because it was down in a little valley, and we craned all the pieces out. So that was a big part of that. There was a dozen abandoned cars. I mean, when you have a big 11-acre site you can't see what's going on behind here. People in the dark of night can pull in, and it's become a dumping ground. We cleaned all that up, so, yeah.
Ken, I think, would have been the only one that took part in doing something like that. Everybody else would have looked at it and walked away.
No, absolutely.
I saw the potential here, and in large part to you and Sean Gately and the town administration. Everybody has been involved. We've had so much support from the team, Mark and everybody else, that one person can't do this. You need a big team.
We need a village
You need a village.
to raise this child.
I mean, and I mentioned with the appropriations committee, the letters of support from the town that Sean put together in a moment's notice, were very persuasive.
They've been phenomenal, and I always encourage businesses, if you're thinking of a great town to move to, Vernon is on the move, as they say. And Sean told me, and Mayor Dan told me almost 10 years ago, you won't recognize Rockville in 10 years. They had a plan. And if you look outside of the new roadways, there's a new bridge there, new bridge. It was 20 million?
20 million on the roads, and then the bridges all came in, and we're replacing 2 more bridges. So we pretty much have all the major bridges done in another year.
The paradigm shift from a broken down road and broken bridges out in front here. We have a brand new road, 3 new bridges on each edge of the mill here, and new sidewalks, new lights. What you did at 19 Grove Street, there were 13 abandoned buildings falling into the river. Now that's a park, Gene Pitney Park. It's just been a total metamorphosis. I think Rockville and Vernon, the Rockville section of Vernon has become, in my opinion, the poster child on how to resurrect a mill town. Here's another guy behind the scenes, Sean Gately.
Yeah, that's right.
This guy wears a lot of hats for the town, and without Sean and Dan, we would have never made it this far. And now with your help, Joe.
Yours should be burning because we were talking about
We were, yeah. I thank God for you guys, because without you guys and your help, I never would have made it this far. Our dreams would have been squashed. So, thank you. Come on in, guys.
one of my nephews last night who was in Arizona. There's a
Worst looking bricks were restored and then painted gold or green or black. You can see the different colors.
wow, looks really nice.
So the stuff that looks the best is the stuff that looked the worst when you're trying to restore something and leave it original. We learned that from the motorcycle industry. Keeping things original has more value, and certainly with antiques and a building of this era. The building we're about to go into is a second poured-in place concrete building. You got all kinds of construction here. You got the post and beam, you got brick, you've got concrete behind us. This elevator serves 4 stops on that building and 4 on this building, and it really makes the whole facility a lot more usable. That's a brand new roof in 2011 that we put on. That slate roof right there is compromised, and the whole front side of the house is starting to rot because the water's leaking into it. You can see when you get inside, the wall's real punky and it's getting moldy, and that needs to be restored. That's an 1880 manager's office. This roof was replaced about 25 years ago by the town. They got a grant and replaced it, but it needs repairs by the stair tower. It's breached in a couple spots. And then the real work is over here on the other side. This is the original powerhouse for the complex, or this one was built in 1880 also. So there was a wooden one here before, so it wasn't the original, it's the second one, but it's been here since 1880. There's a huge steam engine down here. This whole complex was built before electricity existed, and it was powered by water and steam, and they were pretty much self-sufficient with the water power from the river. There was no power company then. But you can see the roofs are breached, and the building's in excellent mechanical condition, the brickwork and everything, but we're gonna lose if the roof collapses, it might be a problem. And this smokestack's their original 1880 smokestack. Isn't it? I'd love to restore it. I can't wait to restore that. I'm looking forward to that. That red building there is beyond restoration. It's going to be dismantled, and whatever we can salvage from it, we will. But that building right there is a slate roof. This winter, that's the one where we had the little panic attack because there was a big storm and the skylights blew off of it, and there was a 2 foot of snow inside of it and a lot of water damage. That roof's been breached since I got here, and it needs to be done right away. You can see the slate is falling off on the edges, and the brick's starting to deteriorate. And the one on the end also. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and this building right here 5.
Okay.
And then the sixth building over there that all need, this building is mechanically very sound. You can see, this is built like a parking garage, 18-inch thick, solid concrete, steel reinforced concrete. This is the same exact building that Loom City Lofts. They took this same, and we had an architect look at this, that we can put 32 apartments very similar to the construction that he did at Loom City Lofts. So that's one of the potential options. Our heart's not really in doing that unless it was part of a motorcycle restoration school we'd like to open here and have dorms up here for the kids, which is something we really have a lot of interest in doing. So we'll see if that comes to pass.
Yeah.
But there's so much room here. We're occupying about 50,000 square foot of 140,000 square foot. So there's tons of potential. As far as having skin in the game, our accountant has added up. At this point, we have $7.5 million invested in the project. Well over $1 million of that was an environmental cleanup. There's a $4 million state loan, a $500,000 town grant, and a $75,000 town grant. So about $4.6 million was either loan. $3 million was every red cent I could get my hands on myself, and all the money I had saved. So we've got way more than the 20% that suggested in the game. We've got about 40% is my personal investment, and 11 years of my life around the clock. So I've got a lot of skin in the game. Joe, failure is not an option. So
Yeah.
I'll either die trying or we will succeed here. That I promise you.
Well,
So
Yeah, the fact that you got, again, the House of Representatives to support this, at the end of July, I think is high praise for,
Thank you.
what you guys have accomplished so far. And again, the fact that the request was so, well flushed out, in terms of just the cost and the sort of economic multiplier benefit, that,
Sure.
that the community will receive.
if you look at Mass MoCA, who they're the pioneers who did this for us, the Museum of Contemporary Art. They did a 10-year financial impact study of the museum on the local area, and it's all on their website and everything, but they had a lot of support from the town, the state, the federal government. They have a $27 million continuation fund in addition to the roughly $30 million they put into restoring their mills, and it's the world's largest contemporary art museum, and a bunch of colleges moved into the area, more than a few, and opened art classes there, and it's become like a cultural center for art. It's
Right.
really phenomenal. Attorneys' offices are in there, and they rent out offices and restaurants and microbreweries, and it's a phenomenal resurrection of a forgotten mill town. So
Yeah, I mean, one thing COVID has done is really kind of educate or remind people that, the arts and museums, are just huge engines of economic activity. First of all, just in terms of jobs, the
Sure.
people who work in them, but also just the fact that, again, it becomes a destination which attracts people from the outside who are here to, enjoy themselves and spend some money. And clearly, I think the museum falls squarely, within that kind of model. So, anyway, we look forward to working with you
Thank you,
over
sir.
the coming months to get through the final steps in the budget process.
I appreciate your
Yes,
support very
no,
much. We're
absolutely.
very, very grateful.
Yeah, glad to help.
Thank you.
The Department of Economic Development hasn't done a 10-year impact study, but the value of the houses, consider you're across the street from an abandoned factory that has graffiti all over it and is a fire hazard, and there's 20 homeless families living there. What is your property worth across the street, your commercial property? That commercial property right there, it's almost worthless. Nobody wants it. When you turn it into a $7.5 million museum, that's a beacon of hope, not just here, but worldwide. All of a sudden, the property values go out exponentially. As far as on this block and across the street, probably doubles the property, maybe triples it. And then as you go out 3 or 4 blocks from here, there's a trickle-down effect. This is very much a labor of love and a passion project. I didn't say, geez, let me invest millions of dollars in an old factory and turn it into a museum as a money-making project. This was something that I feel like it was really God's will for my life, to do this. So definitely